Hello, my darling girl. How are you? Hope you're okay. So, today I'm going to be reading you first story. I know you can't see that properly, but it's a story from The Adventures of the Wishing Chair, and this is a story and a book that I used to love when I was a little girl, so I hope that you love it too. So the first story is called The Strange Old Shop, and this is where we meet the children that have the wishing chair, and we meet the wishing chair itself. So the adventures really began on the day that Molly and Peter went out to spend 35 pence on a present for their mother's birthday. They emptied the money out of the money box and counted it. 35, said Peter. Good. Now what shall we buy Mother? Mother loves old things, said Molly. If we could find an old shop somewhere full of old things, funny spoons, quaint vases, old glasses and beads, something of that sort would be lovely for Mother. She would love an old tea caddy to keep her tea in, I'm sure, or perhaps an old vase. All right, said Peter. We'll go out and find one of these shops this very day. Put your hat on. Come on, Molly. Off they went and ran into the town. It's a shop with the word antiques over it that we want, said Peter. Antiques means old things. Just look out for that, Molly. But there seemed to be no shop with the word antiques printed over it at all. The children left the main street and went down a little turning. There were more shops there, but still not the one they wanted. So they went on and came to a small, narrow street whose houses were so close that there were hardly any light in the road. And there, tucked away in the middle, was the shop with antiques printed on the label inside the dirty window. Good, said Peter. Here's a shop that sells old things. Thank you, Poppy. Look, Molly, do you see that strange little vase with the swans all around it? I'm sure Mother would like that. It's marked 25 pence. We could buy that and some flowers to put into it. So into the dark shop they went. It was so dark that the children stumbled over some piled up rugs on the floor. Nobody seemed to be about. Peter went to the counter and rapped on it. A tiny door at the back opened and out came the strangest little man, no higher than the counter. He had pointed ears like a little pixie. The children looked at him in surprise. He looked very cross and he spoke sharply. What do you want, making a noise like that? We want to buy the vase with the swans around it, said Peter. Muttering and grumbling to himself, the little chap picked up the vase and pushed it across the counter. Peter put down the money. Can I have some paper to wrap the vase in, please? He asked politely. You see, it's for my mother's birthday and I don't want her to see me carrying it home. Grumbling away to himself, the little man went to a pile of boxes at the back of the shop and began to open one to look for a piece of paper. The children watched. To their enormous surprise, a large black cat with golden eyes jumped out of the box and began to spit and snarl at the little man. He smacked it and put it back again, and he opened another box. It was a bit like Poppy running across the table, wasn't it, when I was trying to tell you a story? Out of that came a great wreath of green smoke that wound about the shop and smelt strange. Phew! The little man caught hold of it as if it were a ribbon and tried to stuff it back in the box again. But it broke off and went wandering away. How he stamped and raged. The children felt quite frightened. We'd better go home without the paper, whispered Molly to Peter. But just then another extraordinary thing happened. Out of the next box came a crowd of blue butterflies. They flew into the air. The man shouted with rage again. He darted to the door and shut it, afraid that the butterflies would escape. And then the children saw him lock the door too and put the key into his pocket. We can't get out until he lets us go, said Molly. Oh dear, why did we ever come here? I'm sure that little man's a gnome or something. The little fellow opened another box, and hey presto, out jumped a red fox. It gave a short bark, woof, and then began to run about the shop with its nose on the ground. The children were half afraid of being bitten, so they both sat in an old chair together, their legs drawn up off the ground, out of the way of the fox. It was the most curious shop they had ever been in. Fancy keeping all those queer things in boxes. It couldn't be a proper shop. The children noticed a little stairway leading off the shop about the middle, and suddenly at the top of this there appeared somebody else. It was somebody tall and thin, with such a long beard that it swept onto the ground. On his head was a pointed hat that made him seem taller still. "Look," said Molly, "doesn't he look like a wizard?" "Tippet, Tippet, what are you doing?" cried the newcomer in a strange deep voice like the rumbling of a faraway thunder. I didn't do that in the right voice. I'll get it next time. "Looking for a piece of paper," answered the little man in a surly tone. "All I can find is butterflies and foxes, a black cat." "And what? You've dared to open those boxes?" shouted the other angrily. He stamped down the stairs and then saw the children. "Who are you?" he asked, staring at them. "How dare you come here?" "We wanted to buy this vase," said Peter, frightened. "Well, seeing you are here, you can help Tippet to catch the fox," said the tall man, twisting his beard up in a knot and tying it under his chin. "Come on." "I don't want to," said Molly. "He might bite me. Unlock the door and let us out." "Not till the fox and all the butterflies are caught and put into their boxes again," said the tall man. "Oh dear," said Peter, making no movement to get out of the chair in which he and Molly were still sitting with their legs drawn up. "I do wish we were safely at home." And then the most extraordinary thing of all happened. The chair they were in suddenly began to creak and groan, and it rose up into the air with the two children in it. They held tight, wondering whatever was happening. It flew to the door, but that was shut. It flew to the window, but that was shut too. Meantime, the wizard and Tippet were running around after it, crying out in rage, "How dare you use our wishing chair? Wish it back, wish it back." "I shan't," cried Peter. "Go on, wishing chair, take us home." The chair, finding that it could not get out of the door or the window, flew up the little stairway. It nearly got stuck in the doorway at the top, which was rather narrow, but just managed to squeeze itself through. Before the children could see what the room upstairs was like, the chair flew to the window there, which was open, and out into the street. It immediately rose up very high indeed, far beyond the housetops, just like you when you're on the swing, Ezzie. And it flew towards the children's home. How amazed they were, and how tightly they clung to the arms. "I say, Molly, can you hear a flapping noise?" said Peter. "Has the chair got wings anywhere?" Molly peeped cautiously over the edge of the chair. "Yes," she said, "it has little red wings growing out of each leg, and they make the flapping noise. How queer!" You can see the wings just at the bottom of each leg. And one there as well. Can you see? That's helping the chair fly. The chair began to fly downwards. The children saw that they were just over their own garden. "Go to our playroom, chair," said Peter quickly. And the chair went to the big shed at the bottom of the garden, and inside was a playroom for the children, and here they kept all their toys and books, and they could play any game they liked. The chair flew in at the open door and came to rest on the floor. The children jumped off and looked at one another. "The first real adventure we've ever had in our lives," said Molly in delight. "Oh, Peter, to think we've got a magic chair, a wishing chair." "Well, it isn't really ours," said Peter, putting the swan vase carefully down on the table. "Perhaps we'd better send it back to that shop." "I suppose we had," said Molly sadly. "It would be so lovely if we could just keep it." "Go back to your shop, chair," commanded Peter. The chair didn't move an inch. Peter spoke to it again. Still, the chair wouldn't move. There it was, and there it stayed. Suddenly the children noticed that its little red wings had gone from its legs. It looked just like an ordinary chair now. See, Molly, the chair hasn't any wings, cried Peter. It can't fly. I expect it's only when it grows wings that it can fly. It must have grown them when we were sitting in it in the shop. What luck for us. Peter, let's wait until the chair has grown wings again and then get in it and see where it goes. Oh, let's, said Peter. Well, it might take us anywhere, said Peter doubtfully. Still, we've always wanted adventures, Molly, haven't we? So we'll try. The very next time our wishing chair grows wings, we'll sit in it and fly off again. Hurrah, said Molly. I hope it will be tomorrow. Well, that's the end of that adventure, Ezzie. So next time I will read you a story about the wishing chair called The Giant's Castle. So I hope you have a lovely day or a lovely sleep, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you soon.